Hello again, Gills fans. Welcome back to the latest episode of Gills in the Blood TV. It's that time of the week again where we have a look back at everything that's been going on around the football club and then look ahead to Saturday's game as we travel to Burton Albion, fresh from, what should we call it? An experience in the League Cup semi-finals at the hands of Manchester City on Wednesday evening. I'm sure you've all seen the score, but we will talk about them more in a little while. But first, obviously, the transfer window is open. But Steve Lovell has said no fresh faces for the sake of it. That is one of the headlines on the back of Thursday's edition of the Medway Messenger. He goes on to say, if you're going to sign someone in this window, they have to come in and get in the team and be better than what you have got. I am very happy with my squad. At the moment, I'm in no rush to do anything. There is no need to. He then goes on to say that Lovell has Max Amar and Barry Fuller back in training after injury, while Dean Parrott and Billy Bingham are close to recovering from strains, and Regan, Charles Cook and Brandon Hanlon are also knocking on the door for a first team return. So it only seems that two people are out and unavailable at the moment. But for me, that's fine saying that, but then let's utilise that whole squad. If you're that happy with it, that would be my point, because over the last few weeks we've noticed that the likes of Regan, Charles Cook, I know he's been picking up niggles, excuse me, Navid Nasseri hasn't had a look in all season really. Bradley Stevenson's disappeared off the face of the earth again. So if we're happy with the squad and they all can contribute, then let's let them have a go and let them contribute. So if people are tired, let's put others in and show us how good this squad is then, Steve. For me personally, if there was a budget to stretch and we could get a couple in, I think we're desperate for an old school tough tackling sort of centre midfielder, a Roy Keane type. One who's willing to put his foot in, do all the dirty work, go unnoticed in terms of creativity, but just give us a little bit more protection in there. I think Mark Burton and Callum Riley, if we go back to last week against Cardiff, were absolutely immense. But they have to both do it on a more consistent basis. And I don't think either of them are, if we want to pigeonhole them, central defensive midfielders, holding midfielders. I'm talking like an old school sort of Paul Smith, Andy Hessenthaler type, that sort of thing, going back a bit further to Tony Pulis' first season in charge, Dave Martin, just someone who's just going to get around a pitch, kick anything that moves, if you want to put it that brutally, and just win the ball back, turn possession over and then get us on the front foot again quickly and allow more creative players to go and do their thing in the final third of the pitch. So that's what, if it was only one that we could get in, that's what I'd look to bring in. Tom Eaves is obviously the tricky one. If he goes, we may need to look to bring in another one, but there's a couple of people back who we'll talk about in a little while. Defensively, I think we're sound. I think Alex Lacey's been decent enough since he's come in to replace Max Amar because of injury. So that's two. We've obviously got Gabriel Zakwani, who's been first class. More recently, he's picked up his form. Was obviously brilliant last season. Connor Ogilvie, much improved this season, back on loan, and he is the one bit of movement in the window so far. That loan deal's obviously been extended for the rest of the season, which is a great move in my opinion. So yeah, for me, just to sum up the sort of transfer window bit so far, is if Steve Lovell genuinely believes the squad is good enough, then let's utilise all of it. Let's give everyone game time, keep everybody fresh, rotate a little bit where we have to. I'm all for keeping your strongest 11 and as close to it as much as possible, because continuity and consistency win your games, but don't say the squad's really good and then play people and sort of, you know, flog them to after death and run them into the ground. If you're telling us that this squad's good enough, then utilise all of it. Obviously mentioned a little bit about Burton Albion, and that's obviously the big headline on the back page of the Medway Messenger. Gills can cash in. This went to print prior to the game on Wednesday when Burton travelled to the Etihad Stadium to take on the might of Manchester City, who made quite a few changes and still managed to field a team that included Kyle Walker, Nicolas Otamendi, Kevin De Bruyne, Gabriel Jesus, Riyad Mahrez and the such. So hardly a reserve side, hardly a second string team. No disrespect to Burton, it was always going to be a hiding. I think they've scored 16 in 2 games in cup competitions over the last week, Manchester City. So plenty of better teams to get hidings than Burton Albion. And Nigel Clough, I think, sort of took the whole experience the right way. When asked at what point did you think it would get messy, he said when the draw was made for the semi-finals or something along them lines, full time at Middlesbrough in the quarter-finals, I think. So still got a sense of humour, which is great to see. hopefully it will affect them, because obviously in terms of physical exertions they'd have had to put a lot in. They didn't see a lot of the ball, and mentally I'd assume it's been a very draining couple of days for them. But most importantly, we have to, number one, worry about ourselves, number two, do all our things correctly, number three, earn the right to play football, and go from there. And if we do all that, then there's a good chance we may be able to get a positive result come 5 o'clock Saturday afternoon. So yeah, but we'll obviously come back onto Burton in a little while when we do the match preview. But as we go inside the Medway Messenger this week, I want to have a look at one player in slightly more depth. So I'm going to do an in focus on this fella coming up on your screen now. Excuse me. That is, of course, Bradley Garmston, who was absolutely immaculate last Saturday in the cup win against Cardiff City, Premier League outfit, as we saw him off 1-0. And it's an interesting read from Bradley. In the Shouting Men column this week, he talks about plenty of stuff, fitness, mechanics, of how he's had to change his running style, his diet. Obviously, Josh Parker's a big advocate of being vegan, and it seems that he's starting to convert a few over to that way of living, which is great. It's not for me. To be quite honest, I'd miss burgers, I'd miss bacon, I'd miss sausages, steak, all that type of thing. But fair play to anyone who wants to go and try and live a better lifestyle than myself. But yeah, talking back to the Cardiff game, Bradley says we went into that Cardiff game with nothing to fear, we had nothing to lose, and it was a fantastic day. I was a little shocked to see myself over so many of the Sunday papers. I was thinking maybe they'd got me confused with man of the moment, Elliott List. I thought the picture that summed everything up was Bradley at the end. There's a bundle going on in the background, and there's Bradley in the front letting out a roar of relief, elation, a mixture of everything. It was superb just to have the whole day and the 90 minutes encapsulated in one photograph for me. And I think if there's one lad that deserves it, it's probably this one. I've said before, he's taken plenty of undue stick in my opinion, and he's just starting to get to somewhere near his best again, and thankfully seems to be over, that's me touching wood, the worst of his injury problems. So if we go back right to the beginning when he first joined in 2014-15, he played 9 appearances on loan in a couple of months under Peter Taylor and then Justin Edinburgh. 2015-16, in Justin's first season in charge, he played 38 games, which is a decent effort. You can't really complain about that. That's well over 2/3 of the games we played that season. 16-17 was unfortunately a write-off. Massive injury problems after having what we thought was a brilliant pre-season. Only played 7 times. I remember his last appearance was he come on at home to Wimbledon on a Tuesday night at the Priestfield, and he picked the ball up in the left-back position, I think it was, and he burst inside his man and started galloping away towards the halfway line, and just as he went to release the ball, he just clutched at his hamstring. And if we're talking about pictures and encapsulating moments, there was one after that game that I remember seeing, and poor old Bradley was sat on the turf, shoulders were sunk, pretty much inconsolable, shirt over his face, and I think there was, you must have had a heart made of stone that night if you couldn't feel a bit sorry for him. But 2017-18 was a struggle again at the start, but he made 20 appearances in all, and 14 after Christmas, crucially. So there were signs there at the start of 2018 that he was getting back to somewhere near full fitness and being able to trust his body and play games on a more consistent basis and be able to run how he wanted to do, because obviously a lot of his game is about athleticism and pace. And I think we only have to look at the Southend highlights when the goal that never was went in or didn't, or but Bradley Garmston, if you watch from the edge of the D, from the moment that keeper releases the ball for them to go and score the second, I think he does from their D to our goal line in something like 9 seconds, which is a phenomenal effort. And obviously he does come from an athletics background, which is what he talks about. And his fitness in general is, he says, my health and fitness is up to where I want it to be, and I feel I can put those injuries and worries that I've had over the years behind me. One of the key things to adjust was my mechanics. I had to alter my running technique. Even though I come from an athletics background, when you are running 100 metres, it is a lot different to running in football. No ball at your feet, no direction, or people trying to knock you off balance. It is a completely different type of running, and there were a few adjustments I had to make to things like my running style, my accelerations and decelerations, in order to protect my hamstrings. I feel I have benefited from it. And this season, in terms of games, 21 already. So, and we've only just got to the new year. So even if he goes and plays only if he plays another 15 games this season, you're going to be looking at around the same number as that peak season in 2015-16 when he was fully fit. So he's been inconsistent. I'm sure he's big enough and old enough and mature enough to admit that. But like we said plenty of times, and we mentioned to Cody McDonald on our chat with him the other day, it's League One, so people are going to chuck in the odd 5 or 6 out of 10, and they're not going to be 8s and 9s and 10s out of 10 every week, because if they were, they wouldn't be at our football club. They'd probably be in the top end of the Championship or the Premier League, or trying their trade abroad. So it's great to have Bradley Garmston back to the Bradley Garmston we need and we want, and his win percentage isn't too bad this season. It's 33% now, and it's all right, considering he's been in and out of the side. So if we can just, and he's helped us keep 4 clean sheets in his 21 appearances, so there's something certainly to work on, and let's fingers crossed that he can stay fit for the rest of the season and have a really good end to the campaign and push us up the league. But I, for one, hope that Bradley Garmston does stay fit and lets everyone see what a really good attacking left back or left wing back he is, because I've said plenty of times that at full fitness and at his best, he's one of the best in the division. You won't catch him in a foot race. His delivery is really good. You only have to look at that. Last week, 2 really good balls in the first half for Thomas Eves, and there was a couple more second half. But he's a confidence player, I believe. I think he comes across, obviously this might be completely wrong, he comes across as the one who probably needs the arm around him rather than the rollicking. And let's just hope that we can see on a consistent basis and he doesn't break down the Bradley Garmston that we all want to see. Anyway, moving on. Next page in the Medway Messenger inside is a little bit about our gaffer. Again, obviously the cup draw was made on Monday evening for the 4th round of the FA Cup, and Steve Lovell got probably the best draw imaginable for him, aside from picking up a massive Premier League team. We will be going back to Steve's hometown at the end of the month, weekend of the 26th of January, I believe, as we face Championship outfit Swansea. I must admit, my own reaction to the draw initially was a little bit, but I think looking at it in hindsight now, I think it was probably more the fact that we come out so early. We were the second team drawn out. It was the first tie that come out of the hat, and it all just seemed a bit of an anticlimax. But with a few days to think about it, it's a decent draw. It's going to be a lovely ground to play on, the Vetchfield. No, not the Vetchfield, the Liberty Stadium. That was me looking down at the paper. That's where Steve used to watch them. Liberty Stadium is an immaculate place to visit. It looks really nice. The pitch should be like a carpet. And is it winnable? You'd imagine so. Cardiff rested loads of players in the last round. You'd think that Swansea, in their mid-table, I think, status at the moment in the Championship, will be looking to push on in the second half of the season and try and attack the playoff places. So it might be a game where they make a few alterations and change some key personnel. So if we can go there again and be resolute and good like we were last Saturday in the Cardiff game, then why can't we cause another upset? And then obviously we'll have to play Newport in the next round, because it seems we're only going to play Welsh teams this season. So, but back to Steve himself. I said it would be a dream draw to get Swansea, and for it to come out was unbelievable. He talks a lot and talks passionately about his dad, who helped him as a kid and coached him as a youngster, and who played for Swansea back in the 1950s. So here we're just trying to find a bit. It says here, sadly Alan died in 2013, but Steve's mother and sister remain in Swansea as residents, and it's sure to be an unforgettable weekend for the family. I said before the draw that it would be a dream draw to get Swansea, and for it to come out was unbelievable, said the Gills boss. Gillingham won through to round 4 after defeating another Welsh side, Cardiff, last weekend. It is a good draw. As a club, I suppose we would have liked to have one of the big boys at home, said Lovell. But if you're not going to get one of these, this is a winnable tie. We'll have a go, and you never know what will happen on the day. My dad had a season ticket there for a few years before he passed away. It will be quite emotional going back from a personal point of view. And then it's effectively a mini autobiography from Luke Cordell, and it's really well written. It talks about Steve growing up in the suburb of Dunvan and attending the grammar school near the ground, picking football over rugby one weekend effectively because he had a trial for both sports on the same day. speaking about his dad again, he goes on to say he didn't play many games for Swansea, but he played for Wales schoolboys at Wembley against England, and he was in their squad. He used to play for the reserves, and there were 50,000 people watching them games. They were big. He was a pro, and funnily enough also turned pro at Stockport, another of the clubs I've played for. It is amazing. He used to coach me all the way through my football until I went to Crystal Palace and moved away from home. He had a massive say in my early football career. Yeah, it's a really nice read. If you get a chance, if it's online, or go and pick up a copy of the paper. It's a super little read and a little insight to the family life and love of Steve Lovell, our manager. Right, that's pretty much the roundup. We've just got a little bit of news in brief to get around, and then we'll get on to Burton away. Right, Ryan Huckle has extended his loan deal at Faversham now until the end of January, so he's been there a couple of months getting game time, which is good to see. And two other youngsters out on loan at Sittingbourne, Danny Devine and Henry Woods, have also extended their loan spells with the club by another month, so beneficial to them, hopefully getting regular minutes. In terms of loan stars coming back, Connor Wilkinson 6 in 10 at Dagenham and Redbridge in the National League, and Liam Nash 6 and 14 in the National League South with Concord Rangers, are now both back training with Gillingham. And Steve Lovell says that he'll treat them as any other player, looking to get into the matchday squad, into the starting 11. And unless anything comes up in terms of more loan moves or anything like that, then that's the way it will be. He will treat them exactly the same as everyone else. Tonight, talking of the youngsters, there is an FA Youth Cup 4th round tie at the Priestfield. £5 a ticket for adults, £2 for seniors, and under 18s get in for free. We take on higher level Ipswich, who play at the same level as Blackburn did in the previous round, and we beat them at Ewood Park. So myself, Boz and Stocky are going to pop over and watch that, see how the youngsters can get on. Just hope that there's some of that cup spirit still hanging around the Priestfield from last Saturday, and that the young boys can pull off another massive upset and get themselves into the hat for the 5th round, which would be a massive achievement. So yeah, that's the news in brief from the week rounded up. And of course, Saturday we have a massive game as we travel to this place. That is, of course, the home of Burton Albion, fresh from their mauling in the League Cup semi-finals at the hands of Manchester City in midweek, 9-0. We travel up there for a important EFL Sky Bet League 1 game as we sit only a point outside the relegation zone going into the fixture. In terms of form, last 6 for Burton, lost 1, drawn 1, so they've taken 8 points from 18 from their last 6 in the league, and Gills is not too dissimilar, 1 drawn, lost, 1 lost, so 7 points from 18 on over the last 6 games. In terms of home and away, Burton have 10 points from their last 6 games at home, which is 3 wins, a draw and 2 defeats. And on the road, ours is exactly the same record as it is overall. It's 7 points, so that comprises of 2 wins, a draw and 3 defeats over the last 6. But obviously, in terms of momentum, it should all be with us, fingers crossed. I mean, a massive win in the FA Cup last Saturday at home to Cardiff, a free week to recover and repair and prepare for this one. Burton got the run around for 90 minutes. I think I looked, they had about 25, 26, 27% of the ball in that 9-0 hammering, and you'd imagine 6 or 7% of that was unfortunately the keeper bending down to pick the ball out of the back of the net 9 times. Did see a nice touch from Pep Guardiola, though, went to every single Burton Albion player after the full-time whistle and spoke to them. So yeah, in terms of momentum, it should all be with us, but we know football doesn't always work that simply. It's not always that black and white. And reverse fixture back in August, 2nd game of the season, finished 3-1 to Gillingham. Tom Eaves with 2 and Luke O'Neill with a stonker of a free kick. In terms of danger men and players familiar to us in the Burton Albion squad, Liam Boyce is their top scorer. He's got 10 in 25 this season in all competitions. Somehow got into James's D3, D4 team of the season so far before Christmas, even though he's got 6 less than Tom Eaves or something. So, but not his fault. Hope you're watching, James. Very good Twitter page and website. If you are not following it, go and check it out. D3, D4 football for all your League 1 and League 2 requirements. Off on a tangent there. Stephen Bywater is their goalkeeper, ex-Gills loanee from a few seasons ago. And Stephen Quinn comes with lots of experience and Premiership pedigree. Used to turn out for Sheffield United, Reading and Hull, amongst other teams. Excuse me. In terms of us, team news, no Dean Parrott and no Billy Bingham, as I've already mentioned right at the beginning of this vlog. Max Amar and Barry Fuller are back training, but whether they are fit enough to be in the squad or the starting 11, it remains to be seen. In terms of a team, it isn't rocket science for me. Thomas Holy, Luke O'Neill, Alex Lacey, Gabriel Zaquani, Connor Ogilvie, Bradley Garmston, Josh Parker, Mark Burton, Callum Riley, Elliot List and Thomas Eve simply have to start for me after their heroics in the FA Cup last week. In terms of a bench, I would go with Thomas Hadler, Max Amar if fit as a centre-half on the bench, and then I'd have Darren Oldacre, Josh Reese, Regan Charles Cook, Brandon Hanlon and Noel and Bow. So that is my match day 18. Prediction time. I am going to be super positive this week, and I'm going to say that the final score will be Burton Albion 0, Gillingham 1. I think we might pinch this just on the back of they've had a massive week in the League Cup, and they've taken a bit of a pounding mentally, physically, in terms of confidence as well. And I'm just hoping that we can ride the wave of momentum that last Saturday created. So I think if we can defend as resolutely and as well as we did last Saturday, then I think we'll create enough to win the game. And it'll be a welcome 3 points as we try to pull ourselves away from the bottom four and get ourselves up to the relative safety of mid-table in the League One table. So that is my prediction, 1-0, and I'm going for Josh Parker to score. If you haven't checked it out, please check out our chat with Cody McDonald in the week. Bona fide Gills goal scoring legend, 81 or 82 in just over 200 appearances. He was very accommodating, spoke to us for over 3/4 of an hour, so it's quite a long one, but it is well worth a watch. We loved sorting it out, loved talking to him. Really nice bloke as well as a top fella and a top player. True affection for the football club, which is great to see in the modern game. There's not loads and loads that are like that. Plenty see it as a job. So yeah, check that out. Please comment on this video down below. Please keep spreading the word. 23, that's all we need for 1,000 on the channel. 23. I think we've recently gone over 300 followers on Instagram, and we're now well over 1,000 on Facebook. So thank you so much to everyone. We can't do it without you. Like I say, if we sit here and waffle and put stuff on Facebook and we don't have anyone who interacts, then it's absolutely nothing, the pages, and we love doing it most of the time. So please keep liking, retweeting, subscribing and telling everyone about us. And until next time, up the Gills.